The sun hung high over Brookside Avenue, casting sharp, bright shadows along the quiet suburban street as Malik Torrance jogged at a steady pace, the rhythmic thump of his shoes matching the beat of the music in his headphones. He was on his usual Saturday morning run, just as he had been since his daughter was born 8 years ago, a promise he made to himself to stay healthy and present, no matter how demanding his government job became. His breath was even, his mind relaxed, and the peaceful warmth of the morning made everything feel calm until the sharp screech of police tires shattered the silence, and 2 squad cars swung aggressively into his path. Before Malik could process what was happening, officers were rushing toward him with hands already near their holsters, shouting conflicting orders as fear and confusion surged in his chest. He hadn't done anything, not even close, yet it was clear from the hatred in their eyes that they had already decided who he was. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales right now. Your support helps more people see stories that matter. Malik raised his hands instinctively as the officers closed in. The air felt heavy with tension, and every passing second seemed to stretch infinitely as they accused him of looking like a suspect they were supposedly chasing, a man completely unlike him, someone several inches shorter, with tattoos Malik never had, and a known criminal history Malik had never even brushed against. Yet the officers didn't listen as he tried to explain that he lived only 4 blocks away, that he had been jogging along this same route for years. Instead, they twisted his arms behind his back, cuffed him so tightly the metal bit into his skin, and shoved him against the hood of their cruiser while neighbors peered anxiously from behind curtains and porch railings, watching yet another black man treated as a threat solely because of the color of his skin. The humiliation burned deeper than the pressure on his wrists, and all Malik could think of was his daughter, Hania, who would be waiting for him afterward, expecting her dad to help her practice riding her bike as he promised. The officers, Patrolman Riker and Deputy Hull's son, searched him roughly, ignoring every plea of innocence. Their faces were stone cold, but their eyes spoke volumes, revealing a deep-rooted contempt they refused to hide. Malik felt the familiar sting of helplessness that many black men had experienced before him, an exhaustion that came not from running but from constantly being forced to prove he deserved to exist peacefully. His breaths grew shallow as anger simmered beneath the surface, but he refused to let it erupt. He knew how men like these operated. He had seen it too many times, both on the streets and in case reports he handled at work. What they wanted was a reaction, an excuse to escalate, to justify their aggression. Malik remained still, calm, collected, even as waves of panic knocked at his ribs. As they forced him into the back seat of the cruiser, Malik's mind raced through every possible outcome, including how this could ruin not only his reputation but his safety clearance. Even though he had done nothing wrong, an arrest, any arrest, could complicate his career. His department was strict. His work required integrity, discipline, and trust. He had earned every inch of his place at Homeland Security, from mentoring recruits to serving on multiple national task forces. But none of that mattered in this moment. None of it could protect him here. The officers had already reduced him to nothing more than a stereotype in their minds. The car pulled away from the curb, and Malik stared out through the glass smeared with fingerprints of past detainees. Children rode bikes in driveways. A woman watered her flowers. A delivery driver unloaded packages. Life continued around him, indifferent to the fact that he was being ripped from his own. Riker glanced back at him through the rearview mirror with a smirk that made Malik's stomach tighten. The man had no idea who he had just cuffed, no idea that the person in the back seat had spent years protecting the very country Riker claimed to serve. They arrived at the station, and as Malik was led into the processing room, the fluorescent lights buzzed above him like angry insects. Hull's son pushed him down onto a bench as Riker barked instructions to the clerk behind the counter. Malik sat there in silence, breathing deeply, grounding himself with the same discipline that helped him through high-pressure field operations. He had learned long ago that the world wasn't fair, that people judged without knowing, that prejudice could strip dignity in seconds. But he also learned something else, something that carried him through moments exactly like this one. Truth had a way of revealing itself. When the officers demanded his identification, Malik hesitated, not because he feared revealing it but because he knew what was about to happen. He watched as Riker reached into the confiscated pouch they had taken from him earlier. The officer flipped through the cards dismissively until his fingers landed on the small, Navy badge case. He popped it open casually, still wearing that same condescending smirk, until the metallic emblem inside caught the light and his expression froze in an instant. The Homeland Security crest glimmered boldly, unmistakably. Riker's jaw slackened, and he blinked repeatedly before looking up at Malik as though seeing him for the first time. Halson stepped in to look, and the color drained from his face as well. Their arrogance evaporated faster than rain on hot pavement. Suddenly the room fell silent. Even the clerk looked up, stunned. Riker cleared his throat, the air thick with embarrassment as he scrambled to justify himself. Malik didn't move. He didn't speak. He let them feel the weight of their actions, the shame they should have felt long before this moment. Slowly, Riker uncuffed him, his hands trembling slightly, stammering out excuses about mistaken identity, claiming Malik matched a description, insisting they were simply doing their job. Malik stared directly into their eyes, his gaze firm but controlled, reminding them of the truth they had chosen to ignore, that nothing about the way they treated him had been professional or justified. Instead of unleashing the fury that churned within him, Malik stood tall and steady, embodying the dignity he refused to let them take. He retrieved his badge and ID, checked his belongings, and without raising his voice, told them the facts they had failed to consider. He lived in this community, paid taxes here, raised his daughter here, and served the country far beyond the limits of their understanding. His voice never cracked, but each word carried the quiet power of a man who had been wronged yet refused to be broken. As he walked out of the station, the warmth of the sun felt different, less comforting, more blinding. He inhaled deeply, feeling the lingering ache in his wrists where the cuffs had been. He still had to go home, smile for his daughter, and explain why he was late without letting her see how shaken he felt. The world had demanded that black fathers be both strong and soft, gentle yet unbreakable, capable of bearing injustice while still offering love. And Malik, like many before him, would shoulder that responsibility because the next generation deserved a world kinder than this one. Hours later, as he sat on his porch watching Hania pedal her small blue bicycle down the walkway, he found peace settling slowly back into his chest. Her laughter was a balm to the bruises no one could see. She didn't know what had happened, and he hoped she never would. Not until she was old enough to understand without losing her innocence. But as he watched her, Malik also realized something important. Silence had never changed anything. Stories had. Voices had. Courage had. And maybe telling the truth about what happened today, not with rage, but with purpose, could open someone's eyes somewhere, someone who needed to hear it.